Well, it's kind of alarming. My sister lives in Boston. I got family in the city itself. I remember like it was yesterday when it kind of came on. The high school, my high school and hometown is also the same hometown as the kids' college. So they evacuated all those college kids and put them in our gymnasium at school. They locked down the school with SWAT teams at our high school. So it's kind of hit home. It's one of those things I'll remember forever. I remember where I was sitting when 9/11 happened, but this is kind of even more so. I don't know. Kind of hit the heart a lot more because it was people that could affect me individually, or specifically rather. And I know people that ran in the race. They finished. One of my close friends finished 8 minutes before the bomb went off, and then I got another friend of mine whose high school close friend lost her leg. So it's kind of one of those things that I wouldn't be not as concerned, but as touched by it if it weren't people that I didn't know specifically. But since I do, it was kind of an unfortunate situation. But they handled it well, and thank God they got him. So.
On the last drive of the SEC championship, you caught 3 passes and were targeted 4 times. On that last play in the red zone, were you calling for the ball or trying to play open?
No, it was just kind of the coverage that was called. The way the coverage was, the defense, and the way the play was called, I kind of had an idea when they rolled up and matched. When Sinceri came down and rolled up, kind of had an idea that the ball would come to me. It kind of turned into a skinny post, it might not mean anything, but to you guys. But in terms of like how I ran it, I kind of knew it was coming, and I kind of had an idea what it was in the field, and I didn't want to waste too much time. I'm not the fastest guy in the world, so I didn't want to cost our team any more time. And I got back and lined up as much as possible, as fast as possible, and it kind of just turned out not to be in our favor. But there's no point really in looking at it now in the past. It's kind of giving us motivation to do well in the future. But it definitely was. I wouldn't say I called for it, but I knew I was going to be targeted. Yeah. Yeah, he was a year after me, but he enrolled early, so he's basically been here with me the whole time. I think it's one of those things, when you're emotionally invested into something for so long, you just want to, see the results you deserve. And I don't know the specific details of, what happened to him years ago, why that doctor injected him in that certain place. But, for a kid who is anything but guilty. He's so in the right, it's not really fair of what he has to go through, and I could just imagine emotionally how hard it's been for him. We've been supportive of him, and he's been, as optimistic as one can be in that situation. He works out every day with the offensive line and with us, so he's a guy that will continue to work hard, and his day will come, and I have no doubt he'll suit up for Georgia one of these days, and when he does, he'll play a big part of our offense because he was set to play a big part years ago, or a couple years ago, and he will. Well, when he walked on campus and he was almost my size, I realized he's got to be pretty good. But he's a guy that, the thing I respect about Todd the most is his ability to handle himself off the field. When you have a guy who had that much recognition and productivity as true freshman year, when you're 18 years old, your head can get blown up pretty good. And he's still a happy-go-lucky kid. I legitimately love that kid in terms of just, I could be around him all day and enjoy his company. So I think we expected some pretty big things for him to be first-team All-SEC and up there with the All-Americans, first, second team, third, whatever it may be, was pretty impressive. What will be more impressive is when you realize how hard he worked, how humbled he stayed, and for him to hopefully, if he stays healthy, he'll be able to match that success and hopefully exceed expectations.
Your opener against Clemson, that used to be a huge rivalry game back years ago. Clemson, Georgia. I know Sammy Watkins has said some things about the game, though. But talk about having to go up there to open the season playing them.
I couldn't be more excited. Obviously I'd prefer to play them in Sanford Stadium because I think a game like that deserves to be seen by our home crowd. But, Death Valley, you hear, legends about the place. I remember when Boston College played Clemson for their first year in the ACC and Matt Ryan got almost decapitated against the game. You feel that atmosphere. You want to be around it. So for me, I'm excited. people say what they want prior to the game. We're kind of the team that's run by a stand-up guy and Coach Rick, and we don't say much before. We just hope to match the things that were said with our play on the field, and I think we'll do that just fine.
It was tough for Aaron. I mean, you have to grow up to some degree and work with your skills there. Not on the field, I mean off the field, in terms of dealing with good quarterback.
I mean, absolutely. You take, for instance, you go to school at a school like University of Georgia, University of Alabama, Notre Dame. You're in the spotlight 24/7. For a guy that is followed and beloved by so many people, and for him to keep his level head and composure, and understand the idea of humility, which not many people can understand at 18, 19, 21 years old, 20 years old, is pretty impressive. So I definitely think there was added pressure, more pressure than someone like myself or other guys on the team have to face. But I mean, he's a guy that handles it well, and his composure and maturity off the field is exactly why he's had success on the field, and he'll continue to have success. People kind of give him a hard time for whatever reason, but I think if they had the chance to meet him and sit down and have a conversation with him with no cameras rolling or no microphones on, they'd grow to love the kid like everyone on our team does. So it's a credit to him and his parents for raising a good kid.
The last couple of years, the East has come down to South Carolina and Georgia. Always play early in the year, though. Again, South Carolina's had the upper hand the last 3 years, but y'all gone to Atlanta the last 2 years. Can you talk about that matchup early in the year with the two?
Well, it's one that has been pretty heated over the past couple of years. I know prior to their 3-game skid, I think we had a 3 or 4 game skid. It's been a seesaw of SEC rivalry over the past couple of years, and fortunately for us, it's been in our favor the past 2. We've been able to pick up the slack over our imperfections earlier in the year to come out on top and get to Atlanta. Now, I think there's an opportunity for us to kind of not put ourselves in a hole if we do what we're supposed to do on and off the field from now until that game. That being said, we probably said the same thing last 2 years, and we've kind of been in the same hole. But yeah, it's definitely interesting. I think that's a credit to the programs that have been established here in the SEC. No one's safe. I mean, you look at Alabama, everyone thought they were invincible, and then they go and an 18-year-old kid, shocks the world, and he upsets them with 500 yards of total offense in week 10 or whatever it was. And that's just how it goes. It's the SEC. That's why I came from Boston, Massachusetts to Athens, Georgia. I wouldn't have come down in the Southeast if it weren't for the level of the passion, the dedication, and the commitment people have for football here, because that's what makes this conference great, and this is why it will continue to dominate college football for years to come. I never really appreciated it until I played in the game. People would always talk about it. Sean Chappis is the guy that played fullback for us, is with the Detroit Lions now. He would always say, when you come over that bridge and you see red and blue everywhere, you'll understand. And to this day, that's the first thing I think about when I go over that bridge is the red and the blue, and just people hating each other over the game of football. And although hate's not a great word, you love it, you live it. I mean, that stadium, when you see red and blue, and all you want to do is at the end of the game for all the red to still be there. Because there's been times where I've been in that stadium where it's only blue, and you're sitting there and you're like, what just happened? But hopefully we'll keep the trend going 3 years in a row where it's Georgia fans will have reason to celebrate in St. Simon's for a couple more hours after the game.
What would it mean to extend that when the past 2 years? What would it mean to extend that to a third year?
Well, hopefully it would mean a trip to Atlanta. But more importantly to our program, I think it would mean, the world. It's a recruiting state. We have many kids from Florida. We want to dive in there and get many kids away from that school as possible. But they'll tell you the same thing. They hate us just like we hate them, on the field, that is. And we'll do anything to make it 3 in a row, and it will mean a lot to our program, but also to the seniors, myself, Aaron, Garrison, and the rest of us to go out on top against Florida.
Time for one more. What does it mean to you to join the ranks of tight ends at the University of Georgia?
It's humbling. You see the guys that have come before you. But hopefully I'll have what they don't have, and that's, a national championship. Because in the end, no matter what you do on the field, your legacy is only as good as what you've done, and productively as a team. I know there's been All-Americans here that don't have anything to show for it. So I prefer rings over any personal recognition, so hopefully it comes.